Hawaii is the 50th and most recent state to have joined the United States of America, having received statehood on August 21, 1959. Hawaii is the only U.S. state located in Oceania and the only one composed entirely of islands. It is the northernmost island group in Polynesia, occupying most of an archipelago in the central Pacific Ocean. Hawaii is the only U.S. state located outside North America. The state encompasses nearly the entire volcanic Hawaiian archipelago, which comprises hundreds of islands spread over 1,500 miles, 2,400 kilometers. At the southeastern end of the archipelago, the 8 main islands are in order from northwest to southeast: Niihau, Kauai, Oahu, Molokai, Lanai, Kahoolawe, Maui, and the island of Hawaii. The last is the largest island in the group. It is often called the Big Island or Hawaii Island to avoid confusion with the state or archipelago. The archipelago is physiographically and ethnologically part of the Polynesian subregion of Oceania. Hawaii's diverse natural scenery, warm tropical climate, abundance of public beaches, oceanic surroundings, and active volcanoes make it a popular destination for tourists, surfers, biologists, and volcanologists. Because of its central location in the Pacific and 19th-century labor migration, Hawaii's culture is strongly influenced by North American and Asian cultures, in addition to its indigenous Hawaiian culture. Hawaii has over 1 million permanent residents, along with many visitors and U.S. military personnel. Its capital is Honolulu on the island of Oahu. Hawaii is the 8th smallest and the 11th least populous, but the 13th most densely populated of the 50 U.S. states. It is the only state with an Asian plurality. The state's coastline is about 750 miles, 1,210 kilometers, long, the 4th longest in the U.S. after the coastlines of Alaska, Florida, and California. Etymology: the state of Hawaii derives its name from the name of its largest island, Hawaii. A common Hawaiian explanation of the name of Hawaii is that was named for Haualo, a legendary figure from Hawaiian myth. He is said to have discovered the islands when they were first settled. The Hawaiian language word Hawaii is very similar to Proto-Polynesian *Sawaki, with the reconstructed meaning homeland. Cognates of Hawaii are found in other Polynesian languages, including Maori, Hawaiki, Rarotongan, Avaiki, and Samoan, Savai'i. According to linguists Pukoi and Elbert, elsewhere in Polynesia, Hawaii or a cognate is the name of the underworld or of the ancestral home, but in Hawaii, the name has no meaning. Spelling of state name. A somewhat divisive political issue arose in 1978 when the Constitution of the state of Hawaii added Hawaiian as a second official state language. The title of the state constitution is the Constitution of the State of Hawaii. Article 15, Section 1 of the Constitution uses the state of Hawaii. Diacritics were not used because the document, drafted in 1949, predates the use of the okina and the kahak in modern Hawaiian orthography. The exact spelling of the state's name in the Hawaiian language is Hawaii. In the Hawaii Admission Act that granted Hawaiian statehood, the federal government recognized Hawaii as the official state name. Official government publications, department and office titles, and the seal of Hawaii use the traditional spelling with no symbols for glottal stops or vowel length. In contrast, the National and State Parks Services, the University of Hawaii and some private enterprises implement these symbols. No precedent for changes to U.S. state names exists since the adoption of the United States Constitution in 1789. However, the Constitution of Massachusetts formally changed the province of Massachusetts Bay to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in 1780, and in 1819, the territory of Arkansas was created but was later admitted to statehood as the state of Arkansas. Geography and environment. There are 8 main Hawaiian islands, 7 of which are permanently inhabited. The island of Niihau is privately managed by brothers Bruce and Keith Robinson. Access is restricted to those who have permission from the island's owners. Access to uninhabited Kaho'olawe Island is also restricted. Topography. The Hawaiian archipelago is located 2,000 miles, 3,200 kilometers, southwest of the contiguous United States. Hawaii is the southernmost U.S. state and the second westernmost after Alaska. Hawaii, along with Alaska, does not border any other U.S. state. It is the only U.S. state that is not geographically located in North America, the only state completely surrounded by water and that is entirely an archipelago, and the only state in which coffee is commercially cultivable. In addition to the 8 main islands, the state has many smaller islands and islets. Kala is a small island near Niihau. The Northwest Hawaiian Islands is a group of 9 small, older islands to the northwest of Kauai that extend from Nihoa to Kure Atoll. These are remnants of once much larger volcanic mountains. Across the archipelago are around 130 small rocks and islets, such as Molokini, which are either volcanic, marine sedimentary, or erosional in origin. Hawaii's tallest mountain Mauna Kea is 13,796 feet, 4,205 m, above mean sea level. It is taller than Mount Everest if measured from the base of the mountain, which lies on the floor of the Pacific Ocean and rises about 33,500 feet, 10,200 m. Geology. The Hawaiian Islands were formed by volcanic activity initiated at an undersea magma source called the Hawaii Hotspot. The process is continuing to build islands. The tectonic plate beneath much of the Pacific Ocean continually moves northwest and the hotspot remains stationary, slowly creating new volcanoes. Because of the hotspot's location, all currently active land volcanoes are located on the southern half of Hawaii Island. The newest volcano, Liic Mount, is located south of the coast of Hawaii Island. The last volcanic eruption outside Hawaii Island occurred at Haleikel on Maui before the late 18th century, possibly hundreds of years earlier. In 1790, Kilauea exploded. It was the deadliest eruption known to have occurred in the modern era in what is now the United States. Up to 5,405 warriors and their families marching on Kilauea were killed by the eruption. Volcanic activity and subsequent erosion have created impressive geological features. Hawaii Island has the third highest point among the world's islands. On the flanks of the volcanoes, slope instability has generated damaging earthquakes and related tsunamis, particularly in 1868 and 1975. Steep cliffs have been created by catastrophic debris avalanches on the submerged flanks of ocean island volcanoes. Flora and fauna. Because the islands of Hawaii are distant from other land habitats, life is thought to have arrived there by wind, waves, i.e. by ocean currents, and wings, i.e. birds, insects, and any seeds they may have carried on their feathers. This isolation, in combination with the diverse environment, including extreme altitudes, tropical climates, and arid shorelines, produced an array of endemic flora and fauna. Hawaii has more endangered species and has lost a higher percentage of its endemic species than any other U.S. state. One endemic plant, Bryamia, now requires hand pollination because its natural pollinator is presumed to be extinct. The 2 species of Bryamia B. rockii and B. insignis are represented in the wild by around 120 individual plants. To ensure these plants set seed, biologists rappel down 3,000 foot, 910 m, cliffs to brush pollen onto their stigmas. The extant main islands of the archipelago have been above the surface of the ocean for fewer than 10 million years, a fraction of the time biological colonization and evolution have occurred there. The islands are well known for the environmental diversity that occurs on high mountains within a trade winds field. On a single island, the climate around the coasts can range from dry tropical, less than 20 inches or 510 millimeters annual rainfall, to wet tropical, on the slopes, environments range from tropical rainforest, more than 200 inches or 5,100 millimeters per year, through a temperate climate, to alpine conditions with a cold, dry climate. The rainy climate impacts soil development, which largely determines ground permeability, affecting the distribution of streams and wetlands. Protected areas. Several areas in Hawaii are under the protection of the National Park Service. Hawaii has two national parks, Haleakal National Park located near Kula on the island of Maui, which features the dormant volcano Haleakal that formed East Maui, and Hawaii Volcanoes National Park in the southeast region of the Hawaii Island, which includes the active volcano Kilauea and its rift zones. There are three national historical parks: Kalaupapa National Historical Park in Kalaupapa, Molokai, the site of a former leper colony, Kalokoanaka National Historical Park in Kailua on Hawaii Island, and Puhanua Ohonauna National Historical Park, an ancient place of refuge on Hawaii Island's west coast. Other areas under the control of the National Park Service include Alakahakai National Historic Trail on Hawaii Island and the USS Arizona Memorial at Pearl Harbor on Oahu. The Papanomokiokia Marine National Monument was proclaimed by President George W. Bush on June 15, 2006. The monument covers roughly 140,000 square miles, 360,000 square kilometers, of reefs, atolls, and shallow and deep sea out to 50 miles, 80 kilometers, offshore in the Pacific Ocean, an area larger than all of the national parks in the U.S. combined. Climate. Hawaii's climate is typical for the tropics, although temperatures and humidity tend to be less extreme because of near-constant trade winds from the east. Summer highs usually reach around 88 degrees Fahrenheit, 31 degrees Celsius, during the day, with the temperature reaching a low of 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 24 degrees Celsius, at night. Winter day temperatures are usually around 83 degrees Fahrenheit, 28 degrees Celsius. At low elevation they seldom dip below 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius, at night. Snow, not usually associated with the tropics, falls at 13,800 feet, 4,200 m, on Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa on Hawaii Island in some winter months. Snow rarely falls on Haleakal. Mount Wailea on Kauai has the second highest average annual rainfall on Earth, about 460 inches, 12,000 millimeters, per year. Most of Hawaii experiences only two seasons. The dry season runs from May to October and the wet season is from October to April. The warmest temperature recorded in the state, in Pahala on April 27, 1931, is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius, making it tied with Alaska as the lowest record high temperature observed in a U.S. state. Hawaii's record low temperature is 12 degrees Fahrenheit, 11 degrees C, observed in May 1979, on the summit of Mauna Kea. Hawaii is the only state to have never recorded sub-zero Fahrenheit temperatures. Climates vary considerably on each island. They can be divided into windward and leeward, Koloa and Kona, respectively, areas based upon location relative to the higher mountains. Windward sides face cloud cover. History. Hawaii is one of 4 U.S. states apart from the original 13, along with the Vermont Republic, 1791, the Republic of Texas, 1845, and the California Republic, 1846, that were independent nations prior to statehood. Along with Texas, Hawaii had formal, international diplomatic recognition as a nation. The Kingdom of Hawaii was sovereign from 1810 until 1893, when the monarchy was overthrown by resident American and European capitalists and landholders. Hawaii was an independent republic from 1894 until August 12, 1898, when it officially became a territory of the United States. Hawaii was admitted as a U.S. state on August 21, 1959. First human settlement Ancient Hawaii, 817–78. Based on archaeological evidence, the earliest habitation of the Hawaiian Islands dates to around 300 CE, probably by Polynesian settlers from the Marquesas Islands. A second wave of migration from Ra'atea and Bora Bora took place in the 11th century. The date of the human discovery and habitation of the Hawaiian Islands is the subject of academic debate. Some archaeologists and historians think it was a later wave of immigrants from Tahiti around 1000 CE who introduced a new line of high chiefs, the kapu system, the practice of human sacrifice, and the building of heiau. This later immigration is detailed in Hawaiian mythology, Mulalo, about Peo. Other authors say there is no archaeological or linguistic evidence for a later influx of Tahitian settlers and that Peo must be regarded as a myth. The history of the islands is marked by a slow, steady growth in population and the size of the chiefdoms, which grew to encompass whole islands. Local chiefs, called alii, ruled their settlements, and launched wars to extend their influence and defend their communities from predatory rivals. Ancient Hawaii was a caste-based society, much like that of Hindus in India. European arrival. It is possible that Spanish explorers arrived in the Hawaiian Islands in the 16th century, 200 years before Captain James Cook's first documented visit in 1778. Ruy López de Villalobos commanded a fleet of 6 ships that left Acapulco in 1542 bound for the Philippines with a Spanish sailor named Juan Gaetano aboard as pilot. Depending on the interpretation, Gaetano's reports describe an encounter with either Hawaii or the Marshall Islands. If de Villalobos' crew spotted Hawaii, Gaetano would be considered the first European to see the islands. Some scholars have dismissed these claims due to a lack of credibility. Spanish archives contain a chart that depicts islands at the same latitude as Hawaii but with a longitude 10 degrees east of the islands. In this manuscript, the island of Maui is named La Desgraciada, the unfortunate island, and what appears to be Hawaii Island is named La Mesa, the table. Islands resembling Kahoolawe, Lanai, and Molokai are named Los Monjes, the monks. For 2.5 centuries, Spanish galleons crossed the Pacific from Mexico along a route that passed south of Hawaii on their way to Manila. The exact route was kept secret to protect the Spanish trade monopoly against competing powers. The 1778 arrival of British explorer James Cook was the first documented contact by a European explorer with Hawaii. Cook named the archipelago as the Sandwich Islands in honor of his sponsor John Montagu, 4th Earl of Sandwich. Cook published the island's location and rendered the native name as Oahe. This spelling lives on in Oahe County, Idaho. It was named after 3 native Hawaiian members of a trapping party who went missing in that area. The Oahe Mountains were also named for them. Cook visited the Hawaiian Islands twice. As he prepared for departure after his second visit in 1779, a quarrel ensued as Cook took temple idols and fencing as firewood, and a minor chief and his men took a ship's boat. Cook abducted the king of Hawaii Island, Kalanipu, and held him for ransom aboard his ship in order to gain return of Cook's boat. This tactic had worked in Tahiti and other islands. Instead, Kalanipu's supporters fought back, killing Cook and 4 Marines as Cook's party retreated along the beach to their ship. They departed without the ship's boat. After Cook's visit and the publication of several books relating his voyages, the Hawaiian Islands attracted many European visitors, explorers, traders, and eventually whalers, who found the islands to be a convenient harbor and source of supplies. Early British influence can be seen in the design of the flag of Hawaii, which bears the Union Jack in the top left corner. These visitors introduced diseases to the once isolated islands, causing the Hawaiian population to drop precipitously. Native Hawaiians had no resistance to Eurasian diseases, such as influenza, smallpox, and measles. By 1820, disease, famine and wars between the chiefs killed more than half of the native Hawaiian population. During the 1850s, measles killed a fifth of Hawaii's people. Historical records indicated the earliest Chinese immigrants to Hawaii originated from Guangdong Province. A few sailors arrived in 1778 with Captain Cook's journey, and more arrived in 1789 with an American trader, who settled in Hawaii in the late 18th century. It appears that leprosy was introduced by Chinese workers by 1830. As with the other new infectious diseases, it proved damaging to the Hawaiians. Kingdom of Hawaii. House of Kamehameha. During the 1780s and 1790s, chiefs often fought for power. After a series of battles that ended in 1795, all inhabited islands were subjugated under a single ruler, who became known as King Kamehameha the Great. He established the House of Kamehameha, a dynasty that ruled the kingdom until 1872. After Kamehameha II inherited the throne in 1819, American Protestant missionaries to Hawaii converted many Hawaiians to Christianity. They used their influence to end many traditional practices of the people. During the reign of King Kamehameha III, Hawaii turned into a Christian monarchy with the signing of the 1840 Constitution. Hiram Bingham, a prominent Protestant missionary, was a trusted advisor to the monarchy during this period. Other missionaries and their descendants became active in commercial and political affairs, leading to conflicts between the monarchy and its restive American subjects. Catholic and Mormon missionaries were also active in the kingdom, but they converted a minority of the native Hawaiian population. Missionaries from each major group administered to the leper colony at Kalaupapa on Molokai, which was established in 1866 and operated well into the 20th century. The best known were Father Damien and Mother Mary Ann Cope, both of whom were canonized in the early 21st century as Roman Catholic saints. The death of the bachelor King Kamehameha V, who did not name an heir, resulted in the popular election of Lunalilo over Kakaua. Lunalilo died the next year, also without naming an heir. In 1874, the election was contested within the legislature between Kakaua and Emma, queen consort of Kamehameha IV. After riots broke out, the United States and Britain landed troops on the islands to restore order. King Kakaua was chosen as monarch by the Legislative Assembly by a vote of 39-6 on February 12, 1874. 1887 Constitution and Overthrow Preparations. In 1887, Kakaua was forced to sign the 1887 Constitution of the Kingdom of Hawaii. Drafted by white businessmen and lawyers, the document stripped the king of much of his authority. It established a property qualification for voting that effectively disenfranchised most Hawaiians and immigrant laborers and favored the wealthier, white elite. Resident whites were allowed to vote, but resident Asians were not. As the 1887 Constitution was signed under threat of violence, it is known as the Bayonet Constitution. King Kakaua, reduced to a figurehead, reigned until his death in 1891. His sister, Queen Liliuokalani, succeeded him. She was the last monarch of Hawaii. In 1893, Queen Liliuokalani announced plans for a new constitution to proclaim herself an absolute monarch. On January 14, 1893, a group of mostly Euro-American business leaders and residents formed the Committee of Safety to stage a coup d'état against the kingdom and seek annexation by the United States. United States Government Minister John L. Stevens, responding to a request from the Committee of Safety, summoned a company of U.S. Marines. The Queen's soldiers did not resist. According to historian William Russ, the monarchy was unable to protect itself. Overthrow of 1893. The Republic of Hawaii, 1894–1898. In January 1893, Queen Liliuokalani was overthrown and replaced by a provisional government composed of members of the Committee of Safety. Lawyer Sanford B. Dole, a citizen of Hawaii, became president of the Republic when the Provisional Government of Hawaii ended on July 4, 1894. Controversy ensued in the following years as the Queen tried to regain her throne. The administration of President Grover Cleveland commissioned the Blount Report, which concluded that the removal of Liliuokalani had been illegal. The U.S. government first demanded that Queen Liliuokalani be reinstated, but the provisional government refused. Congress conducted an independent investigation, and on February 26, 1894, submitted the Morgan Report, which found all parties, including Minister Stevens with the exception of the Queen, not guilty and not responsible for the coup. Partisans on both sides of the debate questioned the accuracy and impartiality of both the Blount and Morgan reports over the events of 1893. In 1993, the U.S. Congress passed a joint apology resolution regarding the overthrow. It was signed by President Bill Clinton. The resolution did not apologize and did not say the overthrow was illegal. It acknowledges that the overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii occurred with the active participation of agents and citizens of the United States, and further acknowledges that the native Hawaiian people never directly relinquished to the United States their claims to their inherent sovereignty as a people over their national lands, either through the Kingdom of Hawaii or through a plebiscite or referendum. Annexation: the Territory of Hawaii, 1898–1959. After William McKinley won the 1896 U.S. presidential election, advocates pressed to annex the Republic of Hawaii. The previous president, Grover Cleveland, was a friend of Queen Liliuokalani. McKinley was open to persuasion by U.S. expansionists and by annexationists from Hawaii. He met with three annexationists, Loren A. Thurston, Francis March Hatch and William Ansel Kinney. After negotiations in June 1897, Secretary of State John Sherman agreed to a treaty of annexation with these representatives of the Republic of Hawaii. The U.S. Senate never ratified the treaty. Despite the opposition of most native Hawaiians, the Newlands Resolution was used to annex the Republic to the U.S., it became the Territory of Hawaii. The Newlands Resolution was passed by the House on June 15, 1898, by 209 votes in favor to 91 against, and by the Senate on July 6, 1898, by a vote of 42 to 21. In 1900, Hawaii was granted self-governance and retained Iolani Palace as the territorial capital building. Despite several attempts to become a state, Hawaii remained a territory for 60 years. Plantation owners and capitalists, who maintained control through financial institutions such as the Big Five, found territorial status convenient because they remained able to import cheap, foreign labor. Such immigration and labor practices were prohibited in many states. Puerto Rican immigration to Hawaii began in 1899, when Puerto Rico's sugar industry was devastated by two hurricanes, causing a worldwide shortage of sugar and a huge demand for sugar from Hawaii. Hawaiian sugarcane plantation owners began to recruit experienced, unemployed laborers in Puerto Rico. Two waves of Korean immigration to Hawaii occurred in the 20th century. The first wave arrived between 1903 and 1924, The second wave began in 1965 after President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which removed racial and national barriers and resulted in significantly altering the demographic mix in the U.S. Oahu was the target of a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by Imperial Japan on December 7, 1941. The attack on Pearl Harbor and other military and naval installations, carried out by aircraft and by midget submarines, brought the United States into World War II. Political changes of 1954. The state of Hawaii, 1959 present. In the 1950s, the power of the plantation owners was broken by the descendants of immigrant laborers, who were born in Hawaii and were U.S. citizens. They voted against the Hawaii Republican Party, strongly supported by plantation owners. The new majority voted for the Democratic Party of Hawaii, which dominated territorial and state politics for more than 40 years. Eager to gain full representation in Congress and the Electoral College, residents actively campaigned for statehood. In Washington there was talk that Hawaii would be a Republican Party stronghold, so it was matched with the admission of Alaska, seen as a Democratic Party stronghold. These predictions turned out to be inaccurate. Today, Hawaii votes Democratic predominantly, while Alaska votes Republican. In March 1959, Congress passed the Hawaii Admission Act, which U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed into law. The act excluded Palmyra Atoll from statehood. It had been part of the Kingdom and Territory of Hawaii. On June 27, 1959, a referendum asked residents of Hawaii to vote on the statehood bill. 94.3% voted in favor of statehood and 5.7% opposed it. The referendum asked voters to choose between accepting the act and remaining a U.S. territory. The United Nations Special Committee on Decolonization later removed Hawaii from its list of non-self-governing territories. After attaining statehood, Hawaii quickly modernized through construction and a rapidly growing tourism economy. Later, state programs promoted Hawaiian culture. The Hawaii State Constitutional Convention of 1978 created institutions such as the Office of Hawaiian Affairs to promote indigenous language and culture. Demographics. Population. After Europeans and mainland Americans first arrived during the Kingdom of Hawaii period, the overall population of Hawaii, until that time composed solely of indigenous Hawaiians, fell dramatically. The indigenous Hawaiian population succumbed to foreign diseases, declining from 300,000 in the 1770s, to 60,000 in the 1850s, to 24,000 in 1920. The population of Hawaii began to finally increase after an influx of primarily Asian settlers that arrived as migrant laborers at the end of the 19th century. The unmixed indigenous Hawaiian population has still not restored itself to its 300,000 pre-contact level. As of 2010, only 156,000 persons declared themselves to be of native Hawaiian-only ancestry, just over half of the pre-contact level native Hawaiian population, although an additional 371,000 persons declared themselves to possess native Hawaiian ancestry in combination with one or more other races, including other Polynesian groups, but mostly Asian and/or Caucasian. The United States Census Bureau estimates the population of Hawaii was 1,431,603 on July 1, 2015, an increase of 5.2% since the 2010 United States Census. As of 2014, Hawaii had an estimated population of 1,431,603, an increase of 12,042 from the previous year and an increase of 71,302, 5.2%, since 2010. This includes a natural increase of 48,111, 96,028 births minus 47,917 deaths, and an increase due to net migration of 16,956 people into the state. Immigration from outside the United States resulted in a net increase of 30,068. Migration within the country produced a net loss of 13,112 people. The center of population of Hawaii is located between the two islands of Oahu and Molokai. Large numbers of native Hawaiians have moved to Las Vegas, which has been called the ninth island of Hawaii. Hawaii has a de facto population of over 1.4 million, due in part to a large number of military personnel and tourist residents. Oahu is the most populous island. It has the highest population density with a resident population of just under 1,597 square miles, 1,546 square kilometers, approximately 1,650 people per square mile. Hawaii's 1.4 million residents, spread across 6,000 square miles, 15,500 square kilometers, of land, result in an average population density of 188.6 persons per square mile. The state has a lower population density than Ohio and Illinois. The average projected lifespan of people born in Hawaii in 2000 is 79.8 years, 77.1 years if male, 82.5 if female, longer than the average lifespan of any other U.S. state. As of 2011, the U.S. military reported it had 42,371 personnel on the islands. Ancestry. According to the 2010 United States Census, Hawaii had a population of 1,360,301. The state's population identified as 38.6% Asian, 24.7% white, 22.7% non-Hispanic white alone, 23.6% from two or more races, 10.0% Native Hawaiians and other Pacific Islanders, 8.9% Hispanics and Latinos of any race, 1.6% Black or African American, 1.2% from some other race, and 0.3% Native American and Alaska Native. Hawaii has the highest percentage of Asian Americans and multiracial Americans and the lowest percentage of white Americans of any state. It is the only state where Asian Americans identify as the largest ethnic group. In 2011, 14.5% of births were to white, non-Hispanic parents. Hawaii's Asian population consists mainly of 198,000, 14.6%. Filipino Americans, 185,000, 13.6%. Japanese Americans, roughly 55,000, 4.0%. Chinese Americans, and 24,000, 1.8%. Korean Americans. There are over 80,000 indigenous Hawaiians, 5.9% of the population. Including those with partial ancestry, Samoan Americans constitute 2.8% of Hawaii's population, and Tongan Americans constitute 0.6%. Over 120,000, 8.8%. Hispanic and Latino Americans live in Hawaii. Mexican Americans number over 35,000, 2.6%. Puerto Ricans exceed 44,000, 3.2%. Multiracial Americans constitute almost 25% of Hawaii's population, exceeding 320,000 people. Eurasian Americans are a prominent mixed-race group, numbering about 66,000, 4.9%. The non-Hispanic white population numbers around 310,000, just over 20% of the population. The multiracial population outnumbers the non-Hispanic white population by about 10,000 people. In 1970, the Census Bureau reported Hawaii's population was 38.8% white and 57.7% Asian and Pacific Islander. The five largest European ancestries in Hawaii are German, 7.4%, General excise tax and hotel room tax. The Hawaii Tax Foundation considers the state's tax burden too high, which it says contributes to higher prices and the perception of an unfriendly business climate. State Senator Sam Slom says state taxes are comparatively higher than other states because the state government handles education, health care, and social services that are usually handled at a county or municipal level in most other states. Cost of living. The cost of living in Hawaii, specifically Honolulu, is high compared to that of most major U.S. cities, although it is 6.7% lower than in New York City and 3.6% lower than in San Francisco. These numbers may not take into account some costs, such as increased travel costs for flights, additional shipping fees, and the loss of promotional participation opportunities for customers outside the contiguous U.S. While some online stores offer free shipping on orders to Hawaii, many merchants exclude Hawaii, Alaska, Puerto Rico, and certain other U.S. territories. Hawaiian Electric Industries, a privately owned company, provides 95% of the state's population with electricity, mostly from fossil fuel power stations. Average electricity prices in October 2014, 36.41 cents per kilowatt-hour, were nearly 3 times the national average, 12.58 cents per kilowatt-hour, and 80% higher than the second highest state, Connecticut. The median home value in Hawaii in the 2000 U.S. Census was $272,700, while the national median home value was $119,600. Hawaii home values were the highest of all states, including California with a median home value of $211,500. Research from the National Association of Realtors places the 2010 median sale price of a single-family home in Honolulu, Hawaii, at $607,600 and the U.S. median sales price at $173,200. The sale price of single-family homes in Hawaii was the highest of any U.S. city in 2010, just above that of the Silicon Valley area of California, $602,000. Hawaii's very high cost of living is the result of several interwoven factors of the global economy in addition to domestic U.S. government trade policy. Like other regions with desirable weather throughout the year, such as areas of California, Arizona, and Florida, Hawaii's residents can be considered to be subject to a sunshine tax. This situation is further exacerbated by the natural factors of geography and world distribution that lead to higher prices for goods due to increased shipping costs, a problem which many island states and territories suffer from as well. The situation is compounded even further by what could possibly be the single largest contributor to the high costs of living in Hawaii, a U.S. trade law known as the Jones Act, or the Merchant Marine Act of 1920. This trade regulation prohibits any foreign-flagged ships from carrying cargo between two American ports, a practice known as cabotage. Most consumer goods in the United States are manufactured by outsourced labor in East Asia, then transported by container ships to ports on the U.S. mainland, and Hawaii also receives the same goods. Being located in the central Pacific Ocean, right between major Pacific shipping lanes, it would be very economical to unload Hawaiian-bound goods in Honolulu, before continuing on to the mainland. However, this would effectively make the second leg of the voyage between Hawaii and the mainland a domestic route between two American ports. Because most large cargo ships operate under foreign flags of convenience such as Liberia, Vanuatu, or Papua New Guinea, allowing them to avoid the more stringent, and thus more costly, regulations of developed nations' ports, the domestic leg of the voyage would be disallowed by the Jones Act. Instead, those cargo ships must proceed directly to the west coast, where distributors break bulk and transport the Hawaiian-bound, Asian-manufactured goods back across the ocean by U.S. flagged ships and increasing the length of the voyage by more than 50%. This highly inefficient system of shipping Hawaii's consumer cargo comes at a very hefty price for the average Hawaiian citizen, and makes the cost of living in Hawaii much, much higher than it would otherwise be. Hawaiian consumers ultimately bear the expense of transporting goods imposed by the Jones Act. This law makes Hawaii less competitive than West Coast ports as a shopping destination for tourists from countries with much higher taxes like Japan, even though prices for Asian manufactured goods should be cheaper because Hawaii is much closer than mainland states to Asia. Culture. The Aboriginal culture of Hawaii is Polynesian. Hawaii represents the northernmost extension of the vast Polynesian Triangle of the South and Central Pacific Ocean. While traditional Hawaiian culture remains as vestiges in modern Hawaiian society, there are reenactments of the ceremonies and traditions throughout the islands. Some of these cultural influences, including the popularity, in greatly modified form, of law and hula, are strong enough to affect the wider United States. Cuisine. The cuisine of Hawaii is a fusion of many foods brought by immigrants to the Hawaiian Islands, including the earliest Polynesians and native Hawaiian cuisine, and American, Chinese, Filipino, Japanese, Korean, Polynesian and Portuguese origins. Plant and animal food sources are imported from around the world for agricultural use in Hawaii. Poi, a starch made by pounding taro, is one of the traditional foods of the islands. Many local restaurants serve the ubiquitous plate lunch, which features 2 scoops of rice, a simplified version of American macaroni salad and a variety of toppings including hamburger patties, a fried egg, and gravy of a loco moco, Japanese-style tonkatsu or the traditional law favorites, including klua pork and lalau. Spam musubi is an example of the fusion of ethnic cuisine that developed on the islands among the mix of immigrant groups and military personnel. In the 1990s, a group of chefs developed Hawaii regional cuisine as a contemporary fusion cuisine. Customs and etiquette. Some key customs and etiquette in Hawaii are as follows. When visiting a home, it is considered good manners to bring a small gift for one's host, for example, a dessert. Thus, parties are usually in the form of potlucks. Most locals take their shoes off before entering a home. It is customary for Hawaiian families, regardless of ethnicity, to hold a luau to celebrate a child's first birthday. It is also customary at Hawaiian weddings, especially at Filipino weddings, for the bride and groom to do a money dance, also called the pandago. Print media and local residents recommend that one refer to non-Hawaiians as locals of Hawaii or people of Hawaii. Hawaiian mythology. Hawaiian mythology comprises the legends, historical tales, and sayings of the ancient Hawaiian people. It is considered a variant of a more general Polynesian mythology that developed a unique character for several centuries before circa 1800. It is associated with the Hawaiian religion, which was officially suppressed in the 19th century but was kept alive by some practitioners to the modern day. Prominent figures and terms include Aumakua, the spirit of an ancestor or family god, and Ka with Makronani, the highest of the 4 major Hawaiian deities. Polynesian mythology. Polynesian mythology is the oral traditions of the people of Polynesia, a grouping of Central and South Pacific Ocean island archipelagos in the Polynesian Triangle together with the scattered cultures known as the Polynesian outliers. Polynesians speak languages that descend from a language reconstructed as Proto-Polynesian that was probably spoken in the area around Tonga and Samoa in around 1000 BCE. Prior to the 15th century, Polynesian people migrated east to the Cook Islands, and from there to other island groups such as Tahiti and the Marquesas. Their descendants later discovered the islands Tahiti, Rapa Nui, and later the Hawaiian Islands and New Zealand. The Polynesian languages are part of the Austronesian language family. Many are close enough in terms of vocabulary and grammar to be mutually intelligible. There are also substantial cultural similarities between the various groups. especially in terms of social organization, child rearing, horticulture, building, and textile technologies. Their mythologies in particular demonstrate local reworkings of commonly shared tales. The Polynesian cultures each have distinct but related oral traditions. Legends or myths are traditionally considered to recount ancient history, the time of Pi, and the adventures of gods, Achua, and deified ancestors. List of state parks. There are many Hawaiian state parks. The island of Hawaii has state parks, recreation areas, and historical parks. Kauai has the Ahukini State Recreation Pier, 6 state parks, and the Russian Fort Elizabeth State Historical Park. Maui has 2 state monuments, several state parks, and the Poli Poli Spring State Recreation Area. Molokai has the Pala'o State Park. Oahu has several state parks, a number of state recreation areas, and a number of monuments, including the Ulu Piheiao State Monument. Literature. The literature of Hawaii is diverse and includes authors Kiana Davenport, Lois Ann Yamanaka, and Koei Hart Hemmings. Hawaiian magazines include Hanaho, Hawaii Business Magazine, and Honolulu, among others. Music. The music of Hawaii includes traditional and popular styles, ranging from native Hawaiian folk music to modern rock and hip-hop. Hawaii's musical contributions to the music of the United States are out of proportion to the state's small size. Styles such as slack key guitar are well known worldwide, while Hawaiian-tinged music is a frequent part of Hollywood soundtracks. Hawaii also made a major contribution to country music with the introduction of the steel guitar. Traditional Hawaiian folk music is a major part of the state's musical heritage. The Hawaiian people have inhabited the islands for centuries and have retained much of their traditional musical knowledge. Their music is largely religious in nature, and includes chanting and dance music. Hawaiian music has had an enormous impact on the music of other Polynesian islands. According to Peter Manuel, the influence of Hawaiian music a unifying factor in the development of modern Pacific musics. Native Hawaiian musician and Hawaiian sovereignty activist Israel Kamekawiwo'ole, famous for his medley of Somewhere Over the Rainbow / What a Wonderful World, was named the Voice of Hawaii by NPR in 2010 in its 50 Great Voices series. Sports. Surfing has been a central part of Polynesian culture for centuries. Since the late 19th century, Hawaii has become a major site for surfists from around the world. Notable competitions include the Triple Crown of Surfing and the Eddy. The only NCAA Division I team in Hawaii is the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors and Rainbow Wahine, which competes at the Big West Conference, Major Sports, Mountain West Conference, Football, and Mountain Pacific Sports Federation, Minor Sports. There are 3 teams in NCAA Division II, Chaminade Silverswords, Hawaii Pacific Sharks and Hawaii Hilo Vulcans, all of which compete at the Pacific West Conference. Notable college sports events in Hawaii include the Maui Invitational Tournament, Diamond Head Classic, basketball, and Hawaii Bowl, football. Notable professional teams include the Hawaiians, which played at the World Football League in 1974 and 1975, the Hawaii Icelanders, a AAA minor league baseball team that played at the Pacific Coast League from 1961 to 1987, and Team Hawaii, a North American soccer league team that played in 1977. Hawaii has hosted the Sony Open in Hawaii golf tournament since 1965, the Tournament of Champions golf tournament since 1999, the Lottie Championship golf tournament since 2012, the Honolulu Marathon since 1973, the Ironman World Championship Triathlon race since 1978, the Ultraman Triathlon since 1983, the National Football League's Pro Bowl from 1980 to 2016, the 2000 FINA World Open Water Swimming Championships, and the 2008 Pan-Pacific Championship and 2012 Hawaiian Islands Invitational. Soccer tournaments. Tourism. Tourism is an important part of the Hawaiian economy. In 2003, according to state government data, there were over 6.4 million visitors, with expenditures of over $10 billion, to the Hawaiian Islands. Due to the mild year-round weather, tourist travel is popular throughout the year. The major holidays are the most popular times for outsiders to visit, especially in the winter months. Substantial numbers of Japanese tourists still visit the islands but have now been surpassed by Chinese and Koreans due to the collapse of the value of the yen and the weak Japanese economy. The average Japanese stays only 5 days while other Asians spend over 9.5 days and spend 25% more. Hawaii hosts numerous cultural events. The annual Merry Monarch Festival is an international hula competition. The Hawaii International Film Festival is the premier film festival for Pacific Rim cinema. Honolulu hosts the state's long-running LGBT film festival, the Rainbow Film Festival. Health. As of 2009, Hawaii's healthcare system ensures 92% of residents. Under the state's plan, businesses are required to provide insurance to employees who work more than 20 hours per week. Heavy regulation of insurance companies helps reduce the cost to employers. Due in part to heavy emphasis on preventive care, Hawaiians require hospital treatment less frequently than the rest of the United States, while total healthcare expenses measured as a percentage of state GDP are substantially lower. Proponents of universal healthcare elsewhere in the U.S. sometimes use Hawaii as a model for proposed federal and state healthcare plans. Education. Public schools. Hawaii has the only school system within the U.S. that is unified statewide. Policy decisions are made by the 14-member State Board of Education, which sets policy and hires the Superintendent of Schools, who oversees the State Department of Education. The Department of Education is divided into 7 districts, 4 on Oahu and 1 for each of the other 3 counties. The main rationale for centralization is to combat inequalities between highly populated Oahu and the more rural neighbor islands, and between lower income and more affluent areas. Public elementary, middle and high school test scores in Hawaii are below national averages on tests mandated under the No Child Left Behind Act. The Hawaii Board of Education requires all eligible students to take these tests and report all student test scores. This may have unbalanced the results that reported in August 2005 that of 282 schools across the state, 185 failed to reach federal minimum performance standards in mathematics and reading. The ACT college placement tests show that in 2005, seniors scored slightly above the national average, 21.9 compared with 20.9, but in the widely accepted SAT examinations, Hawaii's college-bound seniors tend to score below the national average in all categories except mathematics. Private schools. Hawaii has the highest rates of private school attendance in the nation. During the 2011-2012 school year, Hawaii public and charter schools had an enrollment of 181,213, while private schools had 37,695. Private schools educated over 17% of students in Hawaii that school year, nearly 3 times the approximate national average of 6%. It has 4 of the largest independent schools: Iolani School, Kamehameha Schools, Mid-Pacific Institute, and Punahou School. Pacific Buddhist Academy, the second Buddhist high school in the U.S. and first such school in Hawaii, was founded in 2003. The first native-controlled public charter school was the Kanu o Kaena New Century Charter School. Independent and charter schools can select their students, while the public schools are open to all students in their district. The Kamehameha schools are the only schools in the U.S. that openly grant admission to students based on ancestry. Collectively, they are one of the wealthiest schools in the United States, if not the world, having over $11 billion in estate assets. In 2005, Kamehameha enrolled 5,398 students, 8.4% of the native Hawaiian children in the state. Colleges and universities. Graduates of secondary schools in Hawaii often enter directly into the workforce. Some attend colleges and universities on the mainland or other countries, and the rest attend an institution of higher learning in Hawaii. The largest is the University of Hawaii System, which consists of the Research University at No, 2 comprehensive campuses at Hilo and West Oahu, and 7 community colleges. Private universities include Brigham Young University Hawaii, Chaminade University of Honolulu, Hawaii Pacific University, and Wayland Baptist University. St. Stephen Diocesan Center is a seminary of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Honolulu. Kona hosts the University of the Nations, which is not an accredited university. Nanoleo. First opened in 1984 illegally in Keikaha, Kauai, the Nanoleo or Language Nest, lit. Nest of Voices, were the first indigenous language immersion schools in the United States. Modeled after the Mora language Kangaroo of New Zealand, they provide preschool-aged children the opportunity to engage in early education through a Hawaiian language medium, generally taught by elders. Graduates from the Nanoleo schools have achieved several measures of academic success in later life. As of 2006, there were a total of 11 Nanoleo preschools, with locations on 5 of the islands. Transportation. A system of state highways encircles each main island. Only Oahu has federal highways, and is the only area outside the contiguous 48 states to have signed interstate highways. Narrow, winding roads and congestion in populated places can slow traffic. Each major island has a public bus system. Honolulu International Airport, IATA, HNL, which shares runways with the adjacent Hickam Field, IATA, HIK, is the major commercial aviation hub of Hawaii. The commercial aviation airport offers intercontinental service to North America, Asia, Australia, and Oceania. Hawaiian Airlines, Mokulele Airlines, and Go use jets to provide services between the large airports in Honolulu, Oahu, Kahului, Kona, and Hilo. Island Air and Pacific Wings serve smaller airports. These airlines also provide air freight services between the islands. On May 30, 2017, the airport was officially renamed as the Daniel K. Inouye International Airport, HNL, after U.S. Senator Daniel K. Inouye. Until air passenger services began in the 1920s, private boats were the sole means of traveling between the islands. Sea flight operated hydrofoils between the major islands in the mid-1970s. The Hawaii Superferry operated between Oahu and Maui between December 2007 and March 2009, with additional routes planned for other islands. Protests and legal problems over environmental impact statements ended the service, though the company operating Superferry has expressed a wish to recommence ferry services in the future. Currently there are passenger ferry services in Maui County between Molokai and Maui, and between Lanai and Maui, though neither of these take vehicles. Currently Norwegian Cruise Lines and Princess Cruises provide passenger cruise ship services between the larger islands. Rail. At one time Hawaii had a network of railroads on each of the larger islands that transported farm commodities and passengers. Most were 3 feet, 914 millimeters, narrow gauge systems, but there were some 2 feet 6 in, 762 millimeters, gauge on some of the smaller islands. The standard gauge in the U.S. is 4 feet 812 in, 1,435 millimeters. By far the largest railroad was the Oahu Railway and Land Company, ORNL, that ran lines from Honolulu across the western and northern part of Oahu. The ORNL was important for moving troops and goods during World War II. Traffic on this line was busy enough for signals to be used to facilitate movement of trains and to require wigwag signals at some railroad crossings for the protection of motorists. The main line was officially abandoned in 1947, although part of it was bought by the U.S. Navy and operated until 1970. 13 miles, 21 kilometers, of track remain. Preservationists occasionally run trains over a portion of this line. The Honolulu High-Capacity Transit Corridor project aims to add elevated passenger rail on Oahu to relieve highway congestion. Governance. Political subdivisions and local government. The movement of the Hawaiian royal family from Hawaii Island to Maui, and subsequently to Oahu, explains the modern-day distribution of population centers. Kamehameha III chose the largest city, Honolulu, as his capital because of its natural harbor, the present-day Honolulu Harbor. Now the state capital, Honolulu, is located along the southeast coast of Oahu. The previous capital was Lahaina, Maui, and before that Kailua Kona, Hawaii. Some major towns are Hilo, Niahi, Kailua, Pearl City, Waipahu, Kahului, Kailua Kona, K, and Lahu. Hawaii comprises 5 counties: the city and county of Honolulu, Hawaii County, Maui County, Kauai County, and Kalawao County. Hawaii has the fewest local governments among U.S. states. Unique to this state is the lack of municipal governments. All local governments are generally administered at the county level. The only incorporated area in the state is Honolulu County, a consolidated city-county that governs the entire island of Oahu. County executives are referred to as mayors. These are the Mayor of Hawaii County, Mayor of Honolulu, Mayor of Kauai, and the Mayor of Maui. The mayors are all elected in nonpartisan elections. Kalawao County has no elected government, and as mentioned above, there are no local school districts, and instead all local public education is administered at the state level by the Hawaii Department of Education. The remaining local governments are special districts. State government. The state government of Hawaii is modeled after the federal government with adaptations originating from the kingdom era of Hawaiian history. As codified in the Constitution of Hawaii, there are 3 branches of government: executive, legislative and judicial. The executive branch is led by the Governor of Hawaii, who is assisted by the Lieutenant Governor of Hawaii, both of whom are elected on the same ticket. The Governor is the only state public official elected statewide, all others are appointed by the Governor. The Lieutenant Governor acts as the Secretary of State. The Governor and Lieutenant Governor oversee 20 agencies and departments from offices in the state capital. The official residence of the Governor is Washington Place. The legislative branch consists of the bicameral Hawaii State Legislature, which is composed of the 51-member Hawaii House of Representatives led by the Speaker of the House, and the 25-member Hawaii Senate led by the President of the Senate. The legislature meets at the state capitol. The unified judicial branch of Hawaii is the Hawaii State Judiciary. The state's highest court is the Supreme Court of Hawaii, which uses Alialani Hale as its chambers. Federal government. Hawaii is represented in the United States Congress by 2 senators and 2 representatives. As of 2016, all 4 seats are held by Democrats. Colleen Hanabusa won a special election for the 1st Congressional District representing southeastern Oahu, including central Honolulu, on November 8, 2016 to finish the term of Representative Mark Takai, who died July 20, 2016. Tulsi Gabbard represents the 2nd Congressional District, representing the rest of the state, which is largely rural and semi-rural. Brian Schatz is the senior United States Senator from Hawaii. He was appointed to the office on December 26, 2012, by Governor Neil Abercrombie, following the death of former Senator Daniel Inouye. The state's junior senator is Mazie Hirano, the former representative from the 2nd Congressional District. Hirano is the first female Asian American senator and the first Buddhist senator. Hawaii incurred the biggest seniority shift between the 112th and 113th Congresses. The state went from a delegation consisting of senators who were 1st and 21st in seniority to their respective replacements, relative newcomers Schatz and Hirano. Federal officials in Hawaii are based at the Prince Kai Federal Building near the Aloha Tower in Honolulu Harbor. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, Internal Revenue Service and the Secret Service maintain their offices there. The building is also the site of the Federal District Court for the District of Hawaii and the United States Attorney for the District of Hawaii. Politics. Since gaining statehood and participating in its first election in 1960, Hawaii has supported Democrats in all but 2 presidential elections, 1972 and 1984, both of which were landslide victories for Republicans Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan respectively. In Hawaii's statehood tenure, only Minnesota has supported Republican candidates fewer times in presidential elections. Hawaii hasn't elected a Republican to represent the state in the U.S. Senate since Hiram Fong in 1970. Since 1977, both of the state's U.S. senators have been Democrats. In 2004, John Kerry won the state's 4 electoral votes by a margin of 9 percentage points with 54% of the vote. Every county supported the Democratic candidate. In 1964, favorite son candidate Senator Hiram Fong of Hawaii sought the Republican presidential nomination, while Patsy Mink ran in the Oregon primary in 1972. Honolulu-born Barack Obama, then serving as United States Senator from Illinois, was elected the 44th President of the United States on November 4, 2008 and was re-elected for a second term on November 6, 2012. Obama had won the Hawaii Democratic Caucus on February 19, 2008, with 76% of the vote. He was the third Hawaii-born candidate to seek the nomination of a major party and the first presidential nominee from Hawaii. Legal status of Hawaii. While Hawaii is internationally recognized as a state of the United States while also being broadly accepted as such in mainstream understanding, the legality of this status has been raised in U.S. District Court, the UN, and other international forums. Domestically, the debate is a topic covered in the Kamehameha School's curriculum, and in classes at the University of Hawaii at No. On September 29, 2015 the Department of the Interior announced a procedure to recognize a native Hawaiian government. Hawaiian Sovereignty Movement. Political organizations seeking some form of sovereignty for Hawaii have been active since the 1880s. Generally, their focus is on self-determination and self-governance, either for Hawaii as an independent nation, in many proposals, for Hawaiian nationals descended from subjects of the Hawaiian Kingdom or declaring themselves as such by choice, or for people of whole or part native Hawaiian ancestry in an indigenous nation-to-nation relationship akin to tribal sovereignty with U.S. federal recognition of native Hawaiians. A 2005 Grassroot Institute poll found the majority of Hawaiian residents opposed the Akaka bill. The Hawaiian sovereignty movement views the overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii in 1893 as illegal, and views the subsequent annexation of Hawaii by the United States as illegal. The movement seeks some form of greater autonomy for Hawaii, such as free association or independence from the United States. Some groups also advocate some form of redress from the United States for the 1893 overthrow of Queen Liliuokalani, and for what is described as a prolonged military occupation beginning with the 1898 annexation. The Apology Resolution passed by U.S. Congress in 1993 is cited as a major impetus by the movement for Hawaiian sovereignty. The sovereignty movement considers Hawaii to be an illegally occupied nation.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.